Like I said all along, it was never about chasing giants, it was about catching nice fish in a nice environment. It was dug back in the 1800s, it's fed by a stream at that end. You've got a boathouse over there and a dam wall at the other end of the lake. It's got such a carpy vibe about it, you just can't help but feel inspired. I'm looking forward to putting what I've learned this session into practice on my next session, and hopefully we can achieve a better result. Yeah, it's a proper old character. It's actually my biggest fish from the venue so far. So yeah, I managed to end my campaign with one of the old A team. So that was nice. Well, here I am in South Yorkshire at this beautiful old estate lake, and I didn't even know about this place until last autumn. It was my friend and business partner Jamie who told me about it. We needed a really nice location to shoot some photos and videos of a van we had going on as a competition for capital carp competitions. And he said, yeah, it's a perfect place, not far from here. It's really nice and carpy, and it'd be a great place to shoot some photos. And we came down here and I just fell in love with the place. It's such an incredible location. It was dug back in the 1800s. It's fed by a stream at that end. You've got a boathouse over there and a dam wall at the other end of the lake. It's got such a carpy vibe about it. You just can't help but feel inspired. And when I came here, I immediately put my name down on the waiting list for the syndicate, and I was very lucky to get offered a place this year. I actually came down for my very first session last week. It was just for a short overnighter, but I was really lucky to end that session with a fish, and this time I have 48 hours at my disposal. So I'm looking forward to my first proper session. I'm looking forward to learning a lot more about the lake. And you're actually going to join me over 2 sessions, and you're going to see how my approach and how my tactics may differ depending on what I learn on this session. But let's focus on this session for now. I actually got down here early this morning before Brad, the cameraman, arrived. It was a really cold start today, -3 when I got here, sharp frost, and I've had a couple of laps of the lake. I've already seen 1 fish show, so that's all I've got to go on so far. But I'm not totally committed to any swim just yet. I still want to have another lap of the lake and see if we can spot any more carpy signs. Well, this is the swim I'm going to start in. It's the only place that I've seen a fish actually. Saw a fish show in the corner of the island, just past these overhanging branches there. And yeah, that's all I've got to go on really. It does feel warmer down this end of the lake as well. When I was stood up there on the dam wall, the wind was pushing across there and it felt really, really cold. Down here it does feel a bit warmer. I'm guessing this end is going to be the shallower end of the lake. That's where the stream feeds the lake, and it runs off down to the dam end. So obviously it's going to be deeper at the dam end and shallower up here. So where I'm positioned, I'm not quite at the end of the lake where it's going to be at its shallowest. I feel like I've got quite a lot of options here. I can fish to the island, I can fish open water, I can fish over towards them reeds on the far side, as long as no other anglers turn up and sit there. So yeah, I feel like I've got quite a lot of options, so it's definitely a good starting point. Now I'm just going to have a few casts around with a leading rod to build up a better understanding of the swim. Just got my spod rod here and just a bare lead attached. I was actually fishing this sort of area last week. I was fishing the swim next door, so I have had a few casts around in this sort of general area. It was all kind of very much the same, soft, silty, little bit of chod. But I'm not fishing quite the same spots this time. I do still want to familiarise myself with this swim and also just build up an understanding of what's out there, just for future reference really. So yeah, I'm just going to have a few casts around now, just to see if I can find anything of interest. It's pretty shallow there, not even getting a drop. It's probably 4 foot, between 4 and 5 foot deep, something like that out there, I would think. In fact, I'm not getting any drop at all. It says it's pretty shallow. Yeah, I'm just pulling that lead back and it's kind of gliding, then sticking, then gliding, then sticking. So there's obviously a little bit of choddy stuff on the lake bed. I don't think it's weed, I think it's just a build-up of leaves, a bit of leaf matter. I just want to be fishing on these clearer areas. Yeah, there's a few bits where it glides nice and smooth and then it plugs in again. There's certainly no gravel or anything like that, well, not that I've found anyway. So yeah, I just want to make sure I'm fishing in one of these smooth, silty areas as opposed to one of the choddy areas with all the leaf matter. Right, so a few more casts and just clip up on one of these smooth glides. Well, this is the rig that I'm using on all 3 rods, although on 2 of the rods I'm fishing it with a pop-up and one I'm fishing it with a wafter. So for the rod that's over by the island and over towards the reed bed on the far side, I'm using a washed out pink Carp Freaks pop-up. The reason I'm fishing with a pop-up on those 2 rods is there's likely to be some sort of debris down there. I'm fishing close to a big overhanging branch on the island, so it's likely to be leaf debris there, and over towards them reed beds on the other side, there's likely to be all sorts of little bits of reeds and twigs and things in the vicinity. So I'm fishing with a pop-up to make sure that the hook point doesn't get impaled on any debris that could hinder the hooking properties of the rig. Now on the rod that's been fished in open water, it does feel a lot smoother there, a lot cleaner, so I'm fishing it with a yellow Northern Special wafter. Now the rig itself is a Ronnie rig, spinner rig, whatever you want to call it, and it's tied using a size 6 Fox Edges wide gape long shank hook. Ever since I first started using this pattern of hook last summer, I am yet to have a hook pull. I've got a 100% success rate of fish hooked, landed. I've not lost one single fish. This goes down to a boom section of 20 pound Camatech soft. I've got a little bit of putty in the middle of the hook link there just to keep it all pinned down. And yeah, it's a super simple, super effective rig, and like I said, one which I'm yet to lose a fish on. Well, I've got 3 rods angling now. I've got 1 rod close to the island where I saw that fish show. I've got 1 rod over towards the far margin. Another one's just fished out in open water. I'm only fishing over a small amount of bait, just like a double handful of bait over each rod. Really just fishing for a bite at the moment, and also just trying to pinpoint any fish. If I find that one area is productive, I might put 2 rods on a spot if I feel like the fish are held up in an area. But right now I'm just really trying to pin down the carp and get a fish on the bank. But yeah, I don't think it's looking too bad. I've got a brew in my hand, first brew of the session, and I'm feeling pretty confident that something's going to happen. Well, I really wasn't expecting any action this quick. Rods have only been in the water for an hour and a half, something like that. I had seen a fish show on the edge of the island, on the edge of the big overhanging branches, and that's the rod that's gone. There he is. Come on, little fella. Hey, got him. Well, he's not a monster, probably around 14 pounds, but after just an hour and a half's fishing, that's a really encouraging start to this session. I thought this was going to be really tough going this morning when I got here. It was -3 and a really sharp frost, but yeah, we're up and running. It was a necessary grunt.
No, it was unnecessary.
How?
Why did you feel the need to grunt?
Grunting because you're taking that long. And I want to get my rig back out. They're having a picnic over there.
Get it back out.
They're having a picnic.
Should we have a picnic?
I bet they've got some Mr. Kipling's cherry bakewells.
Ooh.
Got any binoculars?
That is good confectionery, to be fair.
It is the best picnic confectionery. Battenberg.
Yeah.
Well, sun's going down over at Hilden yonder there, and all we've had today is that one fish, and that's pretty much been the only sign of any fish we've seen today. The wind did drop off momentarily a short while ago, and I expected maybe to see a little bit of fizzing or something somewhere, and other than a few little roach dimpling on the surface, there was nothing at all. It was really cold last night. It was -3 when I arrived. I don't know if that drop in temperature has just knocked the fish back a bit. I don't know, but yeah, I've not had any liners, no indications, but I am still hopeful of something happening tonight. And if not tonight, then I do think there's a good chance of a first light bite, so we're just gonna have to wait and see what happens.
all day you climb, and right back down the other side. How far will you go? With no guarantee you'll know.
You won't believe what's just happened. The rod that's over by the island, I've been absolutely hammered all morning by coots and mallards diving on me. And then the bobbin's been going up and down for the past 2 hours, just where the birds have been diving and picking me up. And then the bobbin's done the same. I've looked up and the birds are just diving on me. And the bobbin just sort of carried on dancing. I thought, I'm gonna have to reel it in now. And as I've picked up the rod, there's been a fish on the end. So while them birds have been diving, it hasn't bothered the carp feeding. The carp have been feeding while the birds have been diving over that baited spot. This rig's been picked up I don't know how many times. I just thought, well, I might as well leave it in there. I don't know if it's tangled. I don't know if it's damaged the pop-up. Obviously there was something of a hook bait left on it, because we're now playing a fish. But it just goes to show it that all that bird activity, all that diving, it doesn't always bother the fish. I think in some instances it does, but obviously it didn't on this occasion. There he comes. Turn round, in we go, yes! There we go, second fish in the bag. Another little plump one. Well, I've just unhooked this fish in the landing net and the hook bait was still perfectly intact. It wasn't damaged in any way. And that's what did it, a little washed out pink Carp Freaks pop-up. Never fails me. Well, he might not be a monster, but that's a really cool little carp, and in over 35 years of carp fishing, that's only the second time I've had a take while birds have been diving over my spot and picking up the rigs as well. But I've never been one that's actually thought that the birds will scare the carp, especially on waters like this where there is a lot of bird life. I do think that the carp just view them as an everyday occurrence, and they just live kind of side by side in the same environment, really. And I think that that definitely goes to show that I know a lot of people get pretty stressed when there's birds diving over the spot and they start spotting at them to try and scare them. But I think in a lot of cases, I think you're probably doing yourself more harm than good. But yeah, 2 fish on the bank now. And there's still plenty of time for one more, but I am going to make a little bit of a tactical change because I would like to make something else happen before it's time to call it a day. Ooh, going the wrong way. A spray on your back. Well, so far, both the fish I've caught have come on the left-hand rod. And although there's been nothing else caught around the lake, I do feel like I should be catching more. At the moment, I'm just kind of fishing for a bite at a time. And yes, it is cold. We've had 2 sharp frosts, and those conditions do kind of lean more towards the fish for a bite at a time type tactics. But I don't know, I just feel like I need to make something happen. And for that reason, I'm going to put a bit more bait in on the rod that's been fished over towards the far margin. You've got that reed line over on that far margin, and at this time of year, especially now the sun's climbing, it's meant to get up to 13 degrees today. I do feel like the fish will be along in those reeds. I think they do tend to search out the reeds at this time of year, often just for cleaning themselves of any leeches or parasites that they've picked up over the winter months. So I think it is a good area. I just want to put a few spods of bait, general area, get the fish moving around, hopefully picking up little patches of bait, and I'm going to drop a rig over there. And the mix that I'm going to spod out is primarily crumbed up boilies. I've got around 75% of the test bait mixed with some live system boilies, all crumbed up. I've got a few small pellets in there as well, plus some sweet corn, and I've added a big glug of the live system booster as well, which really complements that new test bait, lovely creamy aroma that it's got. So that's what I'm going to spot over there. I'm just going to put probably 10 spods of bait, general area. See if we can make it happen. I do love it when you have a change of tactics and it brings about a really quick result. It's probably been about an hour since I put those dozen spons of bait over towards that far margin, and I'm playing a fish. I was so confident in that work, and I'd actually just reeled in one of the other rods to put that back over in that same sort of zone as well. I was going to put 2 rods on that far side where in the general area where I'd spun that bait out, and just while I was getting another fresh rig ready on that rod, bobbin just hit the deck, and we're playing what will be, if we land it, the biggest fish of the session. Not a bad mirror, that one. There we go, and he's in. Yes, that's more like it. That's more like it. That's not a bad one. Oh yeah, could be, might be a 20 pounder, that one.
Still I fall, 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 fall. For you. Another one, no, 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 no. Still I fall, 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 fall.
Well, here we go, this is more like it. Third fish of this session, the biggest one so far. And my biggest fish of this syndicate so far, just over 22 pounds. This one came about after a change in tactics, introduced more bait, and less than an hour it was away with this. Absolutely made up with that. Well, I've just got the rods repositioned for the final night of this 2-night trip. I have got the rods in new areas for tonight. I had been fishing over towards the far margin along that reed line. I don't think that's the sort of area they're going to be visiting on a night. It's going to be more of an area that they visit during the day when the sun's up and the fish are in those shallows, taking advantage of the sun's warming rays. Tonight the temperatures are set to drop, so I do think we'll move away from there and into the main body of the lake. I've had another lead around with a leading rod. I did find a bit of a lumpy, bumpy sort of feature out in open water, which is certainly an area of note to me because most of the lake bed is flat, silty and relatively featureless. So because this was an area that was sort of humps and bumps, I'm hoping that it's something that sort of stands out and is enough of a feature for the carp to be attracted to. So for that reason, I've put half a bucket of bait on that spot. I've really gone for it. I've put several kilo of boilie crumb with the pellet and the corn. I've put half a bucket of bait on there, and I've put 2 rods on that spot. Now, so far on this session, all the bites have come during the day, really. Nothing's happened at night so far, so it doesn't really give me many more chances to put another fish on the bank because I have to be off early in the morning, shortly after first light. So I'm hoping that new spot that I found just happens to be a nighttime feeding spot, and I can put one more fish on the bank before it's time to call it a day. Well, nothing happened last night. I didn't really expect it to, if I'm honest. All the bites I've had this session have come during the day. I had hoped to be able to get a first light bite before it was time to hit the road, but unfortunately not. But it's been a great session all the same. I've landed 3 fish to low 20s and learned absolutely loads. And I'm looking forward to putting what I've learned this session into practice on my next session, and hopefully we can achieve a better result. So I will see you back here in a couple of weeks. Now, at the start of the film, I said you'd be joining me for 2 sessions at the Syndicate. Now, one of those sessions had to be postponed due to the fish spawning, but I was able to get back about a week and a half later. Now, that session didn't really go quite to plan. It didn't get off to the best start as well when I happened to put a baiting needle through my finger. Don't ask me how. I wasn't even using the baiting needle at the time. Just 1 minute it wasn't in my finger and the next minute it was. Don't even know how it happened. Have we got a clip of that? We have got a clip of that. Okay. If you're a bit squeamish, maybe don't look.
Oh man, what have you done?
Oh, I don't know why I'm laughing. That stings a bit. Woo!
Should we go and get some cutters?
Yeah, let's go get some wire cutters. Oh, shit.
Right, I've just snipped the barb off.
Ready?
Go on, do it.
Oh!
Quality. Fair play.
Well, that's baiting needle as well, that
Yeah.
one. Now, although I had just put a baiting needle completely through my finger, I certainly wasn't going to end the session early. I'm there, I'm committed. I'm not going to be one that wastes NHS resources by going to hospital to have a baiting needle taken out of my finger. Like I see lots of people doing on Facebook. I've got a hook in my finger, let's go to hospital. No, you're a and you're wasting NHS resources. Take it out yourself. Leave that in. Do not take that out. Yeah? Now I think that baiting needle through the finger was kind of a indication as to how this session was going to go. It really didn't go to plan at all. On this occasion, I felt as though the fish would be at the shallower end of the lake. It was really, really warm. I felt as though that's where the fish would be, but I think I got the location completely wrong. Also, the fish had only spawned a week and a half earlier, and I do feel as though a lot of those bigger fish were perhaps in a bit of a dour mood, still recovering from the ordeals of spawning. I did catch fish, although they were of a smaller size. Now, I'd also changed my baiting approach. I'd gone for an out-and-out boilie approach, thinking that would produce the bigger fish, but it really wasn't the case at all. But I don't think it was the baiting approach as to why I didn't get those bigger fish. I think it was just I got the location wrong, and those bigger fish were still recovering from the ordeals of spawning some week and a half earlier. But as is often the case with these sessions, you often learn more when things don't go to plan, as opposed when everything goes right from the start. And that was definitely the case. I couldn't wait to get back and try and right some wrongs. Maybe to have a session where I don't put a baiting needle through my finger would have been an improvement. But it would be a few months before I was able to get back at the lake. Well, the last time we were here, it was summer. I only caught a few small carp and got a baiting needle through my finger. So it wasn't ideal, it wasn't the best session, but we're back. And I'm hoping to improve on that by not getting a baiting needle in my finger and catching some bigger carp. Conditions, well, we're now into October. It's quite cold. Last night was the first night in ages where we had temperatures in single figures. Air pressure is quite high, so it's not ideal conditions, but we'll make the most of it. And hopefully we can put one of these better fish on the bank. I'm quite confident in the area that I'm in. I've been lucky enough to be able to get on the deeper area of the lake, which is where I do feel the fish will be now that the water temperatures are dropping. So we're just gonna have to wait and see. 3 rods in position. I've been fishing about an hour. Nothing yet, but fingers crossed something happens soon. So for this session, I'm at the opposite end of the lake to where I fished my previous 2 sessions. And as you can see behind me here, we've got the dam wall. So this is the deeper end of the lake. At the opposite end of the lake, you've got like a feeder stream that comes in, and it is pretty shallow up there. And that's where I felt would be a good option during the spring and the summer sessions. It is very, very shallow though. I mean, it's only 2 feet. Well, I think in areas it's less than that. It's like 18 inches deep. And the fish definitely get up there. There's no doubt about that. But I just felt like the bigger fish, when I've been here, the bigger fish have seemed to come from this end of the lake, the deeper end of the lake. It is so shallow up there. I do feel like it's been hard to get something going. When you hook a fish, it tears off and it causes so much disturbance in that shallow water. Any other fish that were feeding in the vicinity, they've done the off. They've bolted, they've been spooked by all that disturbance. Whereas down this end of the lake, because you've got that extra depth of water, I feel like when you hook a fish, you're able to turn it, move it away from any other fish that may be feeding in the area, and any other fish can kind of happily feed away without any disturbance. That's kind of my thinking anyway. And plus, we are of course now into October, the temperatures are dropping, and I did feel like this deeper end of the lake would be the best option. So that's the plan of attack for this session, fishing at the deeper end of the lake. I'm hoping there are going to be more fish down here because it's deep water and we've got the drop in temperatures. Plus, I do feel like there's a better chance of catching those bigger fish down this end of the lake. Well, it's the middle of the day. It's been really quiet all morning. And probably the past half an hour, this area just seems to have come to life. Seen a few fish showing out there in all sorts of random areas. I was just sort of staring out across the lake, and the bobbin on the right hand rod just hit the deck. We're playing a fish. Rods haven't been in the water that long at all, really. I say it's been quiet. In reality, the rods have only been in the water a few hours. This one's going a bit. I tell the what, cock, I tell the what. I'll do for starters, that will, kid. Oh, he's got a big old head on him, hasn't he? That's not a bad one. It's not a bad one. It's probably bigger than all the fish combined on the last session, so yeah, I'll take that. Come on, let's have the net. Straight in that net. Get in that net. Yes! Oh, he's trying to get out. Oh, yes. We've got him in the net. No wonder he put up a good account for himself. He's proper long, lean torpedo. But I want to get this rod back out there. I think there's a chance of a few fish. I think conditions are looking great with that wind pushing down here. Seen a few fish showing. So I'm going to hook this one in the net and get that rod straight back out there before we have a proper look at him. $25.12. Well, there we go. What a fantastic start to the session this is. £25, 12 ounce, a really old, wrinkly looking leather. I think it is actually technically a leather carp, that, with its little withered fins. Yeah, it's a proper old character. It's actually my biggest fish from the venue so far. And I'm absolutely made up. Slight change of tactics to what I've been fishing previously on the venue. We'll talk about that a bit later. But right now, I'm absolutely made up with this. Proper old one, that. There he goes. Well, I've not long slipped that first fish back, and I've got another one. And typically, Bradley's camera broke, didn't it, Bradley? Young Bradley.
Not good.
It was a poor show, I must say. By the time he's finished farting about with it, getting it working again, fish was on the bank, and it's in the net right now. So we'll have a look at it now, eh? Now that you're ready.
I'm ready.
Good. And there we go, fish number 2. He may not be as big as the first one, but at least it proves I've got the tactics right, I've got the location right, and it's another fish on the bank. And I feel like there could be another fish or 2 in it this session. So I'm just going to slip this one back, get the rod back out there, and hopefully fish number 3 won't be far away. So I'm just about to get that rod back out there, but before I do, I want to show you the rig that I'm using. It's really, really simple. It's just a straightforward blowback rig, tied using 35-pound Camatech soft hook link. That goes down to a size 5 wide gape long shank hook. I've got a short section of shrink tube over the eye to help the hook turn and improve the hooking properties. I've got a rig ring tied off just below level with the barb, and the hook bait is a 15mm Pro Stim liver boilie topped off with half a bright yellow Carp Freaks pop-up. Now this setup has accounted for so many fish over the years, and it's one that I'm sure will continue to catch me loads of fish in coming years, because I can't see me changing from this rig. This is my standard go-to bottom bait presentation. In previous sessions on here I have been using pop-ups fished on Ronnies, but at this time of year, going into autumn, and especially for big fish, I just think a bait on the deck, if you don't have to use a pop-up, don't use one. That's always been my way of thinking. If the lake bed is clean, if there isn't much debris down there on the lake bed that can get impaled on the hook point or impede the hook point from catching a hold or flying up freely into the carp's mouth, then I would always fish a bottom bait. This end of the lake, there's not much debris down there. It's relatively silty, but nice clean silt. So in this instance, I'm going with this bottom bait presentation, and it's worked pretty good so far. Anyway, let's get this back out there and hopefully we can catch one more. Today has absolutely flown by. It's almost 6 o'clock. It's coming in dark already. It's that time of year where the nights really start drawing in. Every day you see a difference. But it does feel quite mild still for the time of year. The water still feels really warm. Seen a few fish showing going into dusk. So yeah, I think there's a chance of another fish or 2 tonight. Or if not tonight, I'm pretty confident of an early morning first light bite. And speaking of bites, I'm gonna get my tea and I'll see you either blurry-eyed in the middle of the night or first thing in the morning. Well, good morning. It's just after first light and it's been a really quiet night actually. I was quite surprised. Conditions seemed ideal last night. It was quite mild. The wind was pushing down here, but nothing happened at all until about 2 minutes ago when I've just landed another fish, and it's not a bad one. So I'm just going to get the rod back out there and we'll take a look at what we got. And there we go, another old estate lake character. This one weighs 24.5 pounds and it really hasn't been a bad session at all. 2 fish around the mid 20 mark, one just under 20 pounds. I'm very, very pleased with that. And it just shows that the change of tactics has definitely worked and brought about those bigger fish. Absolute magic. Now, something else I'm doing differently on this session is I have brought Claudia with me. This is Claudia, my bait boat. Actually, this is Claudia the second, after the Useless Couriers lost Claudia number 1 when I sent Claudia off to be serviced. But this is Claudia the second, my bait boat. And the reason I brought it with me on this trip is on my previous trips here, I've noticed a lot of people are using bait boats on here. And they do seem to be catching a lot more than those who are spodding over the top of their rods. So I thought, yeah, I'll bring Claudia with me. Bait wise, I'm going more with a all-out boilie approach. I have caught quite a lot of small fish on previous trips, so I've ditched any pellets and particles and corn and that sort of thing, just gone for an all-out boilie approach. Here I've got the new Pro Stim Liver. So I'm going to be using a mixture of whole and crumb boilies. I'm fishing in around 10 feet of water, 9-10 feet of water. As that crumb is falling through the water, it's leaking off attraction as it does, and obviously it's landing over a larger area in comparison to just the whole boilies, which will be a lot more tightly grouped as they fall out of the bait boat hopper. So yeah, that's the plan. Just pure boilie, assault, and hopefully that'll get us into some of these bigger fish. Conditions have totally changed from yesterday. Yesterday the wind was smashing down this area of the lake. It was really overcast and you just felt like it had to happen. Whereas now the wind's dropped off. It's what little breeze there is, it's kind of blowing more straight at me, and it isn't looking great, if I'm honest. I feel right now as though if we were to catch anything else, it would be a massive bonus. But at the same time, I feel like there's nowhere else on the lake I would rather be. I feel like the location is right. I feel like there are likely to be fish in this area. I just don't feel like conditions at the moment are particularly conducive for the fish feeding, getting their heads down like they were yesterday. But there's still time. Hopefully there'll be time enough to put one more fish on the bag. Well, I was just thinking, it's about time I started packing up and hitting the road, and it looks like we've got one more chance. It's not a big fish by any means, but at least it's ending on another fish. Come on, little fella. Get away from the other line. Well, he's not a big fish, but it's been pretty quiet down this end of the lake today. So it's nice just to end with the bend in the rod. There you go. Well, this one's really ruined my average size for this session. It was going so well, but it is nice to finish on a fish because it has been tough going today. Haven't really seen a great deal of activity at all. I feel like the fish have been there, they just haven't been on it. But it is time for me to end the session now. I need to get on the road, but I'm going to see you in a little while for a bit of a catch up on how my little campaign on this Yorkshire syndicate has gone.
So that was my mini campaign. It was very mini. It literally was 3 sessions and an overnighter. But I absolutely loved those few sessions I had at the syndicate. like I said all along, it was never about chasing giants. It was about catching nice fish in a nice environment. And little did I know at the time, but I actually managed to land one of the A-team. That old leathery looking mirror turned out to be a fish called the dolphin, a fish that lots of members have wanted to catch. Quite a rare visitor to the bank as well, from what I've been told. So yeah, I managed to end my campaign with one of the old A-team. So that was nice. Yeah, it was a beautiful venue. I've thoroughly enjoyed my time there, and yeah, who knows, it may be somewhere I will revisit again in the future.